My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Now, I love this franchise. I love these characters, and the action set pieces in these movies are just unbelievable. Like, a bunch of the greatest action scenes ever exist within this franchise. So, of course, I was excited for this movie. I do know I was pretty mixed on Dead Reckoning when it came out, but I did just rewatched it and I liked it a bit more. I still hate how they handled Elsa, but it's still a good movie. So I was very excited for this movie, and then the reviews came out, and holy shit, they're just all over the place. Like, some people think it's one of the greatest action movies ever made. Some people are comparing it to The Rise of Skywalker. Like, they really hate it. And people are saying that the first hour sucks, but the action is great. So, just a wide spectrum of reactions. So, I didn't know if I was going to love, hate this movie, but I loved it. It's really great. Um, I can understand some issues that people would have, but for the most part, like I don't understand how someone could hate this movie. But let's begin by talking about the cast, and Tommy Cruise does it again. He is such a great actor and he carries these movies so incredibly well. And the fact that he's in his 60s and he's still doing stunts like this, the man's crazy in the best possible way. But you can just feel the love he has for this character throughout, and he really does elevate this movie. Then we've got Hayley Atwell, and I do like her here. Her introduction in the previous movie, I'm still sour towards, but her character in this movie is good. She's likable, she's shown real character growth, and she can be a badass when needed. Simon Pegg continues to do a great job. He just brings so much personality to this character, and Ving Rhames just brings a level of sincerity that really elevated his character work here. Isaiah Morales, I really didn't like this villain in Dead Reckoning, and he's still a generic villain, but I do like how over the top he is here. Like, he's much more hammier, he's playing it up, and it makes for a more entertaining villain. Craig Tarzan Davis, I thought was a great addition. Yeah, he kind of just becomes a member of the team, but he never feels out of place. He really fits within this group of characters. Palm Clementieff, I think, does a pretty decent job. Not the most interesting character, but still a fine performance. Worf Saxon to me was one of the standouts. This character could have felt so fan servicey, but I really like how he's written and I love what he brings to this character. Lucy Tolagorjok does a pretty decent job. Henry Selzny does a good job as well. He can be a real dirtbag when needed. Shea Wiggum, I do like him. There is a reveal regarding his character that I've seen lots of negativity towards, but sitting on it, I do like it. I actually think it helps this character stand out a bit more. Angela Bassett, I thought, did a great job. whole character could have felt generic, but she just brings a level of gravitas. She sells you on the dramatic rate. Holt McKinley doesn't have much to do, but his whole persona just fits these movies so well, and same with Janet McTeer and Nick Offerman. They're not in the movie much, but it still feels like they belong. Hannah Waddingham does a perfectly fine job, but don't expect too much from her character. Charles Parnell does a pretty good job. Tremere Tillman I liked, and Katie O'Brien I liked. So that's a lot of actors. That's a lot of characters. But unlike the previous movie, I actually don't think this one felt overstuffed. I felt like the movie used each character incredibly well, and I kind of like how just because a character is played by Nick Offerman doesn't mean you have to give him so much to do. Just a very well balanced movie regarding its characters. But before I get to the things I love, let's talk about my few issues with this movie. And the first one is it's a bit too long. They could have tightened this movie up by 20 minutes, but I still feel like they used their time wisely. So the big two issues I have is there's a character who's sick, and it just kind of comes out of nowhere, and that whole addition really didn't add anything to this movie. And the movie is called The Final Reckoning, and I will say it, like, I don't want to give too much away, but I kind of am. The ending is a bit of a cop-out, and I'll leave it at that. Now, onto the things I love, and I do want to talk about one of the big issues people seem to have with this movie, and it's the first hour. It's the exposition. I really didn't have an issue with it. Like, exposition bothers me when it's like, hey, my wife who did this to me and now I've left. Like, when it's so on the nose, well, it doesn't feel like genuine dialogue. But when characters are explaining stuff, like, it works. I like it when characters explain stuff in Interstellar. I like it when characters explain stuff in The Matrix. Like, I really don't get the issue. And the exposition does add dramatic weight. It does add to the stakes because you just feel hopeless this entire movie. Like, the threat is so big, and I like how the movie actually spends time to making you feel that. And there's a political intrigue angle to this movie that I did really enjoy. And I like how when you're watching this movie, like, there's so many things that have to happen for the heroes to come out on top. But not just that, there's a human factor to it as well. Well, characters have to make the right decision. There has to be faith. There has to be trust. And I like that. Like, there is so much going on. There's so many characters, but it does come together. And as a result, it feels like a very optimistic movie. And in some ways, it kind of reminds me of The Dark Knight. Like, you know, that scene with the two boats. It kind of feels like that, but on a much larger scale. I also do like some connections to Ethan Hunt as a character. I think they made for some interesting ideas. I like how it ties into the previous movies. Yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but I thought it was well done. And yes, there's plenty of flashbacks, and maybe they reuse a couple shots a couple times too many, but I kind of dug it. Like, it just felt like a love letter to the franchise. It felt like a love letter to Ethan Hunt, and it also kind of felt like a thank you to the fans. And I really do love that part of this movie. And it's just so sincere and sentimental, and I gotta say, there's emotion here that really worked for me. I also love how they spend so much time setting up individual set pieces, so when things happen, like, you understand the like, it's called Mission Impossible, and you feel that. And okay, it's time to talk about the action set pieces. So before I talk about the two big ones, there is one funny fight early on, and there is a really cool knife fight, which is one of my favorite hand-to-hand combat scenes of the franchise, just behind the bathroom brawl. But that submarine scene is one of the greatest scenes I've seen. Like, that entire section was an experience. It looked and sounded incredible. It was tense as can be, and it's constantly escalating in very effective ways. And I was so locked in, and I was just thinking to myself, James Cameron would be proud. Like, this scene is unreal. Unfreaking real. And then we get the biplane scene, which, yeah, it's a little similar to the helicopter scene in Fallout, but it is still an achievement. It is still as thrilling as can be, and what he's doing on this biplane, Tommy Cruise, holy shit, yeah. Like, there might not be as much action in this movie as, like, Fallout, but when the action hits, boy does it ever. It felt like a shot of adrenaline. So the action in this movie is great. I've seen some people say that this movie lacks any style, that the movie's ugly to look at, and I can't comprehend that because I thought this movie looked beautiful. There's especially a few scenes with the Entity. Well, I liked the style of the movie there. There was one shot at the end, and I was just like, I'm just getting goosebumps thinking about it. Like, this movie's great. It looks great, it sounds great. I do like the music by Max Orgy and Alfie Godfrey. They bring a little bit of Lonnie Balf's music here, but they do make it feel fresh and new. I thought Christopher McQuarrie did an incredible job directing this movie. I thought the movie was quite funny at times, which, once again, I'm hearing that this movie is humorless, and no, like, it's funny. Just as funny as some of the other ones in this franchise. It is thrilling, it is tense, and for a movie that's almost 3 hours long, I was entertained and engaged the entire time. I didn't check the time once, and I had to pee from the very beginning of this movie, and I just didn't go. I was just locked in, and I didn't want to miss anything. So, look, I got a couple of issues with this movie, but I still think it's just incredible. I really do. Like, nobody is doing action movies like Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise, and I thought this was a great addition to this franchise. I thought the action set pieces just fully delivered, especially that submarine one. I thought the movie had real dramatic weight, it had stakes, and I kind of like the way it explored all these different characters and how everything came together. Yeah, I really loved this movie, and I'm glad I'm reviewing this movie now instead of last night, because sitting on it, I am liking it more and more. So I'm going to give Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning an 8.5 out of 10. Okay, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Have you seen it? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, stay tuned for more videos soon, and Gavin,